Hi, I'm Chris Gearing.
I'm Nikki Gearing.
And this is Conversations with My Daughter. If we haven't met before, my name is Chris Gearing. I'm a parent, educator, and coach. I've got about 30 years of experience working with families. I've got a background in early intervention, a master's degree in early childhood special education, and I also have twins. This is one of my twins. They are almost 15 at the time of this recording, and I thought it would be interesting for people to kind of get the kids' perspective. All the stuff that I'm teaching, the scuba approach, which is behind me, it's one of the books that I wrote. She's so helpful. She also did the proofreading on this. So what is it from the kids' perspective? Like, how does it feel to be raised this way? I mean, really the big question is, does this stuff work, or do you hate me, or what?
No, I hate you. That's why I've agreed to help you with your job.
I don't know where she gets the sarcasm from. All right. Anyway, we've started crowdsourcing questions from the people who are interested in my work. So we're going to go through some questions, and we'll just keep answering questions as long as they keep coming in. So we'll do a big bunch today, and then we'll see if any more come in. All right, let's get into it. They always say that in podcasts. Let's get into it.
They do. Okay.
One of my books is called The Magic of Chores, How to Build Brains, Self-Worth, and Connection in Your Child. So we get a lot of questions about chores.
Let's see if I can find it.
It's right there. There it is. She proofread that one too.
Proofread a few of these.
She proofread all of them. She did. She's great. I mean, I'm neutral. Okay. So, first question. This is not on the list, but I think this is the one most people are probably going to want to know. Do you have any chores to do around the house?
Yeah, so I think my biggest chores is that every weekend my brother and I work together to clean the house. So he cleans the bathrooms in their entirety, and I clean the kitchen and all of the floors. And I do that because A, we don't want to live in an icky house, and B, it helps the rest of my family, especially my dad, feel more comfortable when the house isn't super cluttered. Arthur and I also take out the trash. And I take care of my pets. So, my sibling and I will take turns feeding the dogs and the cats and doing the cat litter. And yeah, we'll also help out. We make dinner sometimes, and we generally just help out around the house when our parents need a little bit of extra support.
And ideally, you do dinner once a week.
Yeah, ideally.
Nothing is perfect. Okay, so clearly you have some chores that you do. How do you feel about that?
I mean, obviously I prefer to be reading a book or something to doing chores.
Don't we all?
Chores themselves aren't fun, but it is nice to be able to help my family out. And also I recognize that they're pretty necessary. If I'm not cleaning the house and my sibling isn't cleaning the house, then who's going to clean the house? Because my parents got to work and they got to do adult stuff. So also for our pets, if we don't feed the cats and the dogs, then they just don't get food. If we forget to put water down for the dogs, then they're thirsty. If we don't clean the cat litter, then the garage stinks. So, yeah, a lot of the chores are necessary to do, and they're also really helpful to the family and to me in general. Like, when I'm making dinner, I don't want to have to be dodging around a bunch of icky stickies that fell on the floor that no one cleaned up. So, a lot of the chores are necessary, and they do make me feel like I'm adding a contribution to my family when I can't contribute as a full adult would be able to contribute to the family, but I'm still able to do my part and help out.
We're just going to pause for a moment because the gardener's here.
Yep.
Or maybe we can keep going because
we might need to pause. It's Jeanette's nemesis, the leaf blower. Oh my gosh. Yeah, keep that part in there. Let everyone be confused.
Who's Jeanette? What's happening?
We do it by hand, mister.
Okay. I think we could go back.
Okay.
We might get interrupted again. We'll see how it goes. So the next question is, what motivates you to pitch in and do chores the most? And you talked a little bit about your motivation, kind of like the things that need to be done and you helping out. Is one of those like the most important to you?
I think generally, like the day-to-day reason I think about for doing chores is that there's a leaf blower there. That's an important motivation. Yeah, you got to do chores because otherwise the leaf blower comes.
He get you. He gonna get you.
Yeah.
I say let's just keep going. People will see. This is what real life is like at the Gearing house.
Yep. Yeah, so besides the leaf blower, one big motivator for chores is generally just that they need to get done, like I said, where at this point it's basically a habit. Like, it would be weirder not to take out the trash and feed the cats and everything than it would be to do those. And I also recognize that they're necessary to do. And so that's my main motivator. But sometimes it's right next to the door.
Just hold real still. I'll edit this part out. He is right up in there, isn't
He is.
he? Okay, so you were saying that's the biggest motivator is things that are necessary.
Things that are necessary. I think sometimes when I'm feeling really overwhelmed by chores, then I'll kind of stop to think about beyond just that it's necessary. So I'll think about how it's helping my family. And mostly I'll think about how it's helping myself. Like, I spent, I think, 6.5 hours cleaning with a short break for lunch and watching a show with my mom. But I think what got me through that long cleaning was momentum, obviously, but also that it's practice for me to feel like I'm doing something and getting something accomplished. So what my motivation for chores is when I really am not motivated to do them is chasing that accomplishment and feeling like I have done something helpful.
I feel like he's on the other side of the door, just like...
In Germany, we do it by hand! By hand, mister! You have already been here! There are no leaves! You are just blowing dirt on my car!
Okay, I have a question for you that's related to this. One of the things that I talk about a lot in the book is executive functions and how I really believe that chores can be a way to help practice executive functions. What do you think about that? Like, have you seen any evidence carrying over from stuff you do at home to what you do at school?
Well, I've been starting using, like, a planner. It's just a Google Doc with all the stuff I have to do on it, and I use that when I remember to, because ADHD brain. But when I remember to actually write things down, and then when I remember to actually look at what I've written down and to do what I've written down, which at that point it's a little unlikely, but when it does work out, I've started using that for chores and for schoolwork. So I'll base my day around chores and schoolwork, and sometimes, like, if I'm on a long break, then I'll have kind of days blocked where I'll have a few days that sort of end up just being sitting around and read days. But I'll also have, like, on the day when I spent 6.5 hours cleaning, I was like, this is my cleaning day. I'm going to do a bunch of cleaning in the house other than my room. And so then that was my house other than room cleaning day. And then another day might be like, okay, I'm going to get started on some homework and I'll just do homework today. That's my homework day. And so it helps to kind of blob them into pieces to help me get all the things done. And so the chores are part of the things that I blob. So, like, in my mind, sweeping the floor of the kitchen is the same thing as reorganizing the entryway and getting rid of extra things, but doing my laundry and dealing with my closet is not the same as clearing out one of the desks in my room. So there are different things that I've learned how difficult it is for me and how they might connect in ways that are different for most people. Most people would probably, some people might think by room, so in that case the laundry and the desk are the same, but the kitchen and entryway are two different rooms. But I don't think like that. I think about what's most difficult for me to do, what takes the longest, and then after practice doing that with chores, I can also practice doing that with academics. So instead of just saying, okay, well, I have a bunch of essays, the essays go together, it's, no, this essay is super easy for me to do, so I'll do that on the same day I do this simple math homework, and this other essay is going to be a really long essay, so I'm going to need some more time for that. So it definitely gives me the practice for that.
Yay, it works.
It does work. Sometimes. It works when my brain works.
I think that's a really good point, though, right? And I think that that's important for parents and kids both to know, is that none of this is like a arthritis hand. Snap for me. There we go. None of this is like a one-time quick thing where it like quote unquote fixes everything. First of all, you don't need to be fixed because you are not broken, my dear.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's brain works in a really different way. And when you sort of focus on everybody's strengths and you figure out, oh, this is what I do really well, this is what I struggle with, you know, you get practice and you get a little bit better as you move forward, but there's no perfect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good example.
Yeah, and I think also relating to the everyone's brains working different ways, another thing I notice with chores is actually something I think I noticed while proofreading The Magic of Chores, I'm pretty sure, when she was talking about executive functioning. She was talking about executive functioning. There was one section that I think what she had originally written was, you might know that this job needs to be done right away, but your child doesn't think the same thing. And I feel like that's a trap that a lot of parents can fall into, so, bad job, mother. Bad mother.
But yeah, she did a great job catching it.
Yeah, there's a trap. There's a leaf blower, too. There's always a leaf blower. That's the greatest problem in parenting, is the leaf blower. Yeah, really, really need to work on that.
Okay.
But I think that the trap a lot of parents fall into is, if their child's not doing something, it's because their child doesn't want to do something. They don't realize this thing needs to be done, and because then your parent might go say, oh no, this needs to be done for this reason and this reason and this reason. A lot of times when I'm not doing something, I know it has to be done. I know I have to finish writing that essay because it's due tomorrow, and if I don't finish my essay, I'll be behind on the class, and it'll set back some of the other things that I need to do. I know all of that, and I want to initiate the task, but sometimes task initiation isn't something that I can just be like, okay, I want to do this, now I'm going to do it. I can really, really, really want to get this done, and I'll think in my mind, I need to get this done. I know it's super important, and then I spend the next few hours reading my book, and then the day's over, and oh, it didn't get done. I guess I'm just not going to get it done now, and I'm going to be late for my thing. So, I don't remember what my suggestion was for the difference, but I think it might have been, your child may not think the same way, and even if they do, they might not be able to initiate that task.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think a lot of times parents forget that, especially for neurodivergent kids like me and my brother, the brain doesn't work in the way always that I need to get this done, therefore I'm going to get it done. So I think the one good thing a parent can do is sort of step back and give some grace for that and try to ask the kid what they need to make it easier for them to actually initiate the task, instead of just, oh, this needs to be get done because this and this and this, because at that point you're just making the kid feel guilty when there's nothing they can really do about it.
And the neurology behind that, like the neuroscience, has to do with dopamine. Task initiation is reliant upon dopamine levels in the brain. So when you have to do that, reading the book or, building Legos or whatever it is that your kid needs to do, basically they need to kind of build up dopamine levels so that they can do that task initiation. They're not being lazy. They're not being difficult. They just don't have, I heard a really good explanation once from an OT. She was saying they don't have the tools to do the job. And when you don't let them do whatever it is that they need to do to build up the dopamine, you're taking away their toolbox altogether. And then, like you said, how could they possibly do it? And then they just feel really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good reminder.
Yeah. I think the part about the kids lazy or difficult is also like, that's often a really big problem for me, even when my mom's not saying like, oh, you need to get this done because this and this and this. I still, when I'm not doing a task, I feel terrible because I'm like, I'm just lazy. And then I get into the trap of that must mean I'm a lazy person. And so I'm just not going to get anything done. And then I get really upset. And it's never fun for anybody.
How do you get out of that?
Well, I'm still finding different ways to get out of that. I feel like my mom can help me sometimes, but a lot of times it's also just something I kind of have to work through on my own. And one thing that really does help me is when I actually get work done. So that kind of goes back to, I have two examples. The first is the 6.5 hours of cleaning I talked about before. That definitely, like, I was tired by the end, but it felt really good for me. Like, I can get things done. It took me a really long time. Like, I feel like someone else probably would have been able to do all those tasks in maybe 1 hour. It took me a long time, but I stayed on task that whole time, and I worked on those things, and I got them done, and that felt really good. It's also similar to in a science project, we had personal projects to work on, and I kept not really getting anywhere. I could write, I'd write a few sentences in our 45-minute class period, but I just could not get past some invisible barrier I couldn't figure out, and I felt terrible for that. I was just like, I'm being lazy, I'm not going to get this done. And then one day I managed to actually get some stuff written down because I was able to finally finish my experiments at home. And then once I was able to see some progress I'd made, I felt a lot better. And then the next day I was able to make a lot more progress. So I think definitely one thing that helps me is if I'm able to break through that task initiation and focus barrier once, it makes me feel a lot better and more able to do it again in the future. So I think that's one of the main solutions I have. And then breaking through that barrier, I'm still not sure quite how I do that. So that's something that I'll probably need to figure out on my own as well.
But it sounds like at least having those little wins is something that builds on. It's almost like one little win and another little win gets you that much higher, and then you can get a bigger win after that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good information for parents too, because then it kind of helps us figure out how to scaffold things so that you get some little wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have a couple of choices. We can take a break here and come back and record after the gardener is gone, when we switch away from the topic of chores. Or we can keep going. What do you want to do?
I'm probably going to go get some water. But
I think that's a good plan. And now I'll stop it.
Okay.